Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey guys, it's Debbie Potts, the host of the Whole Athlete Podcast, and today I'm bringing on the new CEO of the Nutritional Therapy Association. If you've been following the podcast, you know that I got certified as a nutritional therapy practitioner 2 or 3 years ago now. And I'm excited to connect the new CEO with the endurance world, triathlon world, because the CEO, Matt Smith, who we're talking to today, is a competitive endurance and multi-sport athlete himself. So I am happy to share what nutritional therapy is about and the foundations of nutritional therapy and how it can enhance your performance. And of course, the big picture should be our focus on longevity. As endurance sports, triathlons are tough on our body, and it's not natural to go work out for 5, 10, 12 hours in a sport. So even though less is more, we love to do these long distance endurance sports and races, that we need to make sure we're taking care of the whole athlete from the inside out. And that is my focus on helping people with what I call the holistic method, how to train the whole athlete from the inside out with the 8 elements of the holistic method. It includes exercise, nutrition, but of course, stress and sleep. And we've got movement, mobility we need to work on, always digestion and gut health, hormone balance. And then we have hydration and my favorite, happiness, as most of us are too serious and need to let loose and play and be silly a little more. So Matt is going to talk about how he got involved in nutritional therapy. But let me give you a little rundown on his background as an athlete. And he is pretty competitive and living in the Colorado Boulder area. He grew up as a distance swimmer, so that's so not fair. I'm always working on swimming, and I wish I grew up swimming too. That's always my area of opportunity as a triathlete. But he competed at state level in the 500 and 1500 free, as well as, see, lucky him, riding mountain bikes and running for his high school cross-country team, ranked 13th out of 14 participants. So he is obviously a pretty good athlete. His multi-sport career really started after a sedentary college experience upon graduating at 235 pounds and decided that he needed something to motivate him to get in better shape and live healthier lifestyle. He signed up for his first triathlon. And we're going to talk about this story. But he's just got a great background in endurance sports, and he's been racing 13 years in triathlons, and I think he's working a little bit more now, but racing more than running and triathlon races, and doing all sorts of work now with nutritional therapy. And I really want to tie them together and really help grow nutritional therapy in the endurance world, and hopefully we can educate you a little bit, some new things. The foundations of nutritional therapy are eating a nutrient-dense, whole foods-based diet that balances your blood sugar. And then we always work on digestion. Usually, if you just work on digestion with clients, it helps solve a lot of their main complaints. And then we work on blood sugar regulation, the adrenals, HPA axis, and essential fatty acid, mineral balance, hydration. And once we work on all these foundations, usually we can help improve hormone balance, detoxification, immune system, and cardiovascular health. So Matt will share more information with us. The links will be in the show notes. He is part of a coaching team, San Sego, that Craig Alexander, Crowe, one of my favorite pro athletes, he runs, and got lots of connections. It's really funny how small this world is as I start to connect with other leaders in the fat-adapted athlete world and metabolic efficiency, trying to organize a meetup in Ironman Hawaii, Kona, this October, we will have a Meetup and Fat Adapted seminar. I will share with you now on the Wednesday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Hopefully, our location will be in the Bike Works pop-up shop off of Leahy Drive near Lava Java. And I'll hopefully have all these samples of F-Up Bomb, some Vespa, UCAN, and some little treats from Nutritional Therapy Association. So Matt's helping me connect with some other people as well as mutual friends. So let me stop talking and bring on Matt Smith from the Nutritional Therapy Association. Enjoy. So Matt, thank you for finally being able to come on the show. I've been eager to get you on.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Debbie. I really appreciate it.
Well, this is uplifting. I didn't tell you this before we pushed record. I just left Masters Swimming, and I need a cheer me up because someone was getting CPR, and it's very emotional because I've done CPR certification for years, but I've never seen someone on the side of the pool getting CPR. So just for everyone, just to give my pay it forward, everyone should get CPR certified after watching someone, and I don't know if he survived. They were doing CPR for 45 minutes, and then I left, and there's ambulances. So, okay, Matt will make me happy and laugh and smile again because it's really hard to watch that, and I'm like, I can't swim anymore. So, anyways, just a side note for everyone to get CPR.
Just about heart health and endurance athletes. That's a whole different story.
That'd be huge. That's what I was thinking, nutritional therapy and how it helps cardiovascular health and endurance athlete, because, you watch someone get CPR and it's like, even a client today said they had a friend getting triple bypass surgery tomorrow, and they go, how do you know what signs and symptoms do you have? And it's like, well, there's so many things we can do. So nutritional therapy is how we can really help people from the inside out.
Yeah.
So, Matt, tell us a little bit about your journey into becoming the CEO of Nutritional Therapy Association, from being this triathlete, Colorado, Mr. Marketing guy. Let's talk about your story because I think it's fun.
Thanks. Yeah, it's. I would say I have a kind of a different route to running an organization that I have a lot of passion for. My career started. I moved to Colorado from Rhode Island. I actually grew up in Seattle. I should say that first, Seattle area. Went to college in Rhode Island and moved here to Colorado for the active lifestyle, but also to be a part of opening a new university here. So I started my career in higher education and earned a master's in adult education and leadership development as a part of my time there. And so my job was running leadership development programs where the school, I would work with students, but then the school would also hire me out to work with companies. I ended up working for a company that I had met through that did HR analytics for chain restaurant companies. So funny that I work for Nutritional Therapy Association now, because we worked with McDonald's, anywhere from McDonald's like Capital Grille, Chili's, Applebee's, and helped their executives understand the human side of the business. So was doing consulting around that for 3 or 4 years. That company was based in Dallas, Texas. And they wanted me to move to Texas from Colorado. And I won't share the jokes that we have in Colorado about people from Texas. So ended up, I started my own business at that point that was helping young people. When I was growing up, I was really active in a high school student business club called DECA.
I remember that.
We would do business competitions and that kind of stuff. So I partnered with a motivational speaker who was the expert in young people in the workplace. And we built a training program called Bring Your A Game to Work that made the values of work ethic, like show up on time, be nice to your boss, pull up your pants, approachable for young people. So I spent about 3 or 4 years sharing, training around that program and getting it out there in the world. And I would say simultaneously to that career path was my endurance sports career path. When I moved here to Colorado, I always enjoyed an active outside lifestyle other than in college, where that lifestyle turned, like the weights we lifted were beer cans pretty much. I went in and I was a high school swimmer. So I ate like Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
I went into college at about 175 pounds and came out at about 250. Like size 32 waist going in, size 30 coming out, and literally was having issue. I think I had enough blood sugar issues, etc., that like I would fall asleep at my desk at work. And, even though I'd slept 9 hours the night before and was just struggling in life. So I said, well, I'm going to start running because that's what I can do with the work that I did. And I started just being able to run around the block. Moved here to Colorado, got back into mountain biking and did an Xterra triathlon after I'd been running for a while and had lost a lot of that weight, and kind of got hooked. And that's when, so it went from Xterras to sprint and Olympic to half Ironman. So I've been racing triathlon for since I was 23, and I'm 43 now. So almost 20 years. And at the same time, like at that point in my career, I was really active. I was an officer with our local triathlon club and did sponsorships. So there was a cool new company starting in Boulder, Colorado called Retool that is a bike fit technology that if you're into triathlon and you haven't had your bike fit by a Retool fitter, you're probably missing out because it's the one, probably the best investment you can make other than hiring a coach or getting your nutrition right. So I ended up meeting the guys at Retool, and they hired me to run education for them globally. So that's really when I got into really heavily into the sports side of things. And at similar times, had friends of mine in triathlon. I was good enough at the sport that friends were asking me to coach them. So got a USA triathlon coaching license and got into coaching right around that time. And fast forward a few years, Retool got acquired by another bigger bicycle company that starts with an S. And they had their own training division. So they decided they didn't need my job anymore. And at that point, I had said, I'm going to combine my experience in leadership development and training and endurance sports and launch my own executive coaching and more like life coaching, executive coaching, and consulting business. And one of my first clients was the NTA. So the executive director of the NTA hired me as an executive coach for 3 of their directors or senior level staff to help them work better together as a team. And I knew that nutrition was the missing link. I was smart enough by then to know that hey, it would be cool if I can teach people about how to manage their life, manage sport and nutrition. So I traded my getting the NTA certification for my time in consulting with them as an organization. So that's how I got connected. And it was kind of an odd chain of events, but they ended up needing some interim help as the director of education. So I jumped in. I was like, I'll jump in for 3 months, and that's turned into 3 years. And in this last January, our board of directors asked me to lead the business. So I've kind of scaled back in the last year and a half. I had scaled back my triathlon and life coaching business and am full-time with the NTA now. So that's a little bit about how I got here.
So that'd be a good question to ask. A next question to ask you would be, what is nutritional therapy about? Because I talk about the last 3 years since I got trained in it, but what's your definition of nutritional therapy and nutritional therapy practitioners? And then we'll kind of go into how it can help endurance athletes really get an edge on racing, their performance gains and longevity.
Sure. Yeah, I can give a lot quicker definition there. Really, Nutritional Therapy Association, we're a school. So we teach a 9-month certification in we have 2 levels of certification, either a nutritional therapy consultant or a nutritional therapy practitioner. And our belief is just we believe in the body's innate ability to heal. And so what we teach is focused on a foundational and bio-individual, which I think is crucial in the nutrition world, approach to helping the body's systems work optimally and heal. So we teach. We have a team of faculty that teaches our classes worldwide. So we're one of the only fully instructor-led programs in the space. And then really what's different about the NTA is we believe in lifelong learning for the practitioners that graduate from our program. So that's why we're called an association instead of a school, is we nurture and support that community for life with a conference, other continuing education opportunities, and tools to support them as practitioners. And that's really what drew me to work here too, is that community is awesome. It's one of the most exciting, inviting communities of healers you can be a part of. So really, like I said, we believe in a bio-individual approach to nutrition, that real food is the best solution in life, and that we want to balance what we call the foundations, which is your digestion, blood sugar regulation, mineral balance, hydration, and do that through a properly prepared nutrient-dense diet. Oh, I forgot, sorry, fats, dietary fats and oils.
Yes, our big one, our favorite essential fats.
I know, exactly.
So it's funny that, I just find this passion to explain what nutritional therapy is and share it to the endurance world. And that's just kind of my next journey, as I shared with you online, that I'm closing my fitness studio to focus more on coaching athletes, what I call the holistic method, that it's not just your training. As a personal trainer for 25 years, I can't really get people to be optimal health level by just training them 2-3 times a week. And it's frustrating. I talked to the guys from Bio-Optimizers the other day. We did 3 of us were on a call, and we're all I'm still a personal trainer, but we're all trainers. And I said, isn't it funny? We're all working on nutrition. Is there a sign here that you really can't get healthy with just exercise alone? And I find nutritional therapy is so important to share and get that training out there to more people around the world, because I think it's so essential for athletes too, when we're pushing ourselves, especially triathletes who are doing 3 sports, plus, your strength training, hopefully your mobility drills and recovery sessions, that I think nutrition is really important. And we should always look at not just performance right now in this race season, but what's ahead. And you might not learn that till you're older, that you should be more focused on longevity, not just this race season, because what you're doing now can impact the whole you and your future. But I think we all have our own stories, our own journeys that led us down to transitioning into more nutrition and nutritional therapists. I think we all have our own stories, that we have our own issues that we really helped heal ourselves with a nutritional therapy protocol. And really, I'm finally feeling better myself, as I had my chronic fatigue, adrenal, HPA axis dysregulation starting in 2013. And it's taken me now until this spring, 2019, to actually start to feel like, oh, maybe there is a triathlon in my future again. And maybe I can race without killing myself for another 5 years or more. So it's important. So how do you think nutritional therapy can help athletes, and how have you seen your role as a coach change, perhaps adding nutritional therapy work with your athletes as well as yourself?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably mostly myself. Well, I wouldn't say that, because I've worked with a few of my athletes. Like I said, I've kind of, as I got into nutritional therapy, I ended up doing a lot more work for the company than individual client work. But really what brought me to it is, to me, especially in endurance sports, what I always saw is that there were like 3 key mentalities in endurance athletes. One was, I trained to eat. I trained to be able to eat whatever I want. 2 was like, if the fire is hot enough, anything burns. So I can eat anything that I want because I'm training enough that I just need calories to fuel that. And then the other one was, I call it the product-based nutrition philosophy. And especially like if you look at any endurance sports magazine, there's every ad almost just some kind of supplement that's going to, guaranteed to make you 1% faster, or this kind of power bar that tastes better, or this Gatorade that, will make sure that you don't have stomach cramps or whatever. And I guess what I saw in athletes and working with athletes for as long as I did or working with endurance athletes, is most people, the issue wasn't what they were consuming during the race. Like, we could dial in a nutrition plan that was the exact amount of calories you should have, like scientifically proven number of calories, percentage of macronutrients, having the right amount of electrolytes, and they would still blow up, and have literally blow up, like either coming out their mouth or the other end. And so what I noticed it was that they weren't supporting the engine, so to speak. Like, you spend a lot of money on a bike, you spend a lot of money, or you spend a lot of time building muscle. I still consider that like the frame of the athlete, whereas the engine is really your organs and the systems that are supporting that. So I guess what I've noticed is, like, through kind of employing the foundations or looking at things through the foundations, is if you just focus on your day-to-day nutrition and putting, like I call it, putting super unleaded in the engine instead of putting regular gas in. Even some of the small tweaks, like, real foods, like one of the things I did was I switched from having a sandwich every day for lunch because it was easy, to having a salad, which is still just as easy, but I'm getting a lot more nutrient density by adding that, or adding collagen and bone broth and some things that help heal and seal your gut a little bit. Has decreased GI issues significantly in people that I've noticed. So I can get into all I know you had some more, you probably have more questions around the details, but generally I think if you can get the systems functioning right, like if you can stop, if you can really focus on nutrition that's putting quality nutrients in and getting the systems to work right, it makes everything else better. Like, you're going to develop better muscle. You're going to be able to go longer without issues, things like that.
What's your,
for everyone? Sorry.
I know. So everyone's unique, is that we always learn in NTA, and as practitioners, you really learn working on people with the hands-on functional evaluation that everyone's body is different, and where, if you feel imbalances, what the root cause is, or the combination of things that are creating chaos in the body and dysfunction. And I think a lot of athletes just keep trying to out-exercise a bad diet. And I think it's really important to stop and, like you're just talking about, eating more real food, nutrient-dense foods. And we always discuss, the goal is to balance your blood sugar when you're eating day-to-day activities. But working on digestion and gut health, as I always say, it's not just what you eat, but how you eat it and when you eat it. And your digestion and absorption is so key. And I think a lot of athletes, well, they're busy, so they're eating very fast, which is everyone, they don't chew their food 20, 30 times. They're not sitting in focus when they're eating lunch in between stuff, or because they're trying to fit in a workout at lunchtime, and then they're eating like in their drive back to the office. So I think people are always multitasking. So their digestive system's turned off because they're in sympathetic mode instead of parasympathetic. And then they're stressed. And then we've got, poor quality food choices because they're quick and easy to grab the crappy stuff. So then we're getting poor nutrition in our body. So I think it is like how you fuel your engine with the right products. But even if you're putting the right stuff in, are you able to break it down properly? And so digestion and gut health, I learned from nutritional therapy, is so important. And how I coach people now with the holistic method, that's not just, let's look at your exercise sessions, your workouts, and look at your heart rate and power and all that. But let's look at, how you're eating. When are you eating? How's your digestion? How's your microbiome? It's so essential to performance. And I don't think people are really looking at it, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing this October and just focusing on that.
No, it's so true. If you don't, like, digestion, I think, is one of the best examples. And probably that's the thing I would focus on, other than like stress management, which is not one of our foundations at the NTA, but I would call it like the sixth. It's almost like your, like you said, mobility and recovery for triathlon, for an athlete. Like, stress management is probably the foundation that we leave out and should talk about. But otherwise, I would say digestion is usually number one to me, because even if you're putting in the best quality stuff, if your body's not assimilating it, you're not going to use it. And I would say like even gut health, like your intestines, if you don't have the right flora, the right good bacteria down there, what's, one of the essential nutrients that you need for creating ATP or energy in your body is the B vitamins, and that's where they're created in your body. Those bacteria are creating them. So if you've, I've found if you can support getting the probiotics and intestinal lining in a good spot, it almost like that actually helps athletes better than any like switching products or switching macros in their training fuel is what I've seen, at least when we've done that with
people. I would think so too. And then, so what is your approach? Are you more the low carb, high fat, kind of keto, burning fat adapted? What are you still like can you eat a lot of carbs because you're an active skinny guy? What's your philosophy?
I think, like I said, everyone's bio-individual. What I personally, in this, like I said, the NTA has, I would say our philosophy tends to lean more towards a lower carbohydrate diet or paleo approach. Personally, like I came from the way that I lost a lot of weight after college and got into endurance sports was what I would call the super high carb, low fat diet, which was really in then. It was like a book called Eat to Win was one of the foundational ones. And like literally they would tell you eat the no fat processed American cheese slices on your food because that's good for you. What I found is like just making those, for most people, making a simple switch and eating real food that you know where it comes from as a first choice. That's like the number one thing I always focus on before anything else. And then with macros, like using like that, I would say like the 40-30-30, like the 40% carbohydrates, 30% protein, 30% fat. That's what I did after nutritional therapy, and what I've recommended to most of the coaching athletes that I work with is, especially for recovery, while a lot of the science says 4-to-1, carb to protein ratio, I think the missing link there is fat. So like I try and, eat a good amount of nuts or avocado, like healthy fats after exercise. And I found I bounce back a lot more quickly. I would say like generally with exercise, this may or may not be a popular opinion with some people. I believe in the metabolic efficiency is what I would call it. Like you can train your body to burn fat better by, forcing it in low aerobic, like your base building seasons. You can force your body to burn fat. So you get more efficient at burning fat. Like I tell athletes, one of the things that I've found works really well with just about every triathlete I work with is as you're starting those like 3-hour base rides, as you're training for a half Ironman or an Ironman, like you should be able to do the first 2 hours on water without eating like goos and waffles or whatever before the ride, like, have some eggs or whatever, but you should be able to do an aerobic ride without a ton of calories. And what I found most people can do then is during a race, they're still taking carbohydrates in, because I know that's, like I said, what's probably unpopular with people who are really into high fat is I know like there's the Noakes out of South Africa and stuff. And I haven't seen enough research where I feel really confident that if you're racing at a high level, I've seen it with athletes who are performing at a very aerobic level, be able to just take fat in and process it. But it takes years even to get there. But I've seen high level athletes, like the coaching clients that I still work with, are all at least amateur Kona contenders in terms of the triathletes I work with. And I've seen them, be able to cut the amount of calories that they take in half by becoming more fat adapted and using what's on their body already, which makes the GI issues go away during a race and just makes it so you have to worry about a lot less while you're out there.
Yeah. No poopy pants.
Exactly.
Or throwing
I know
up. Both ends.
Yeah. I'd say I go somewhere like easy as somewhere in the middle. Like I have some friends who swear by like, I can eat nothing and race an Ironman, or I'll just eat my fat balls that I make out of coconut oil and stuff. But I haven't seen anyone who is a true high performance endurance athlete get away without carbohydrates yet.
Well, I started a bunch of ideas, but I started a Facebook page called the Low Carb Athlete, and just to put research articles out there that I find as I try to write an ebook on how to become, just help to regain your energy and avoid burnout and fatigue for endurance athletes. And part of that is what I always discuss, metabolic efficiency. So I think, for nutritional therapy, you've learned that everyone's unique, as we said, and the goal is to balance your blood sugar. So whatever macros you need, and if it's metabolic typing, if you're a fast or slow oxidizer, the goal is to balance your blood sugar, as we said, to burn fat. So no one, I think, is saying you should be burning sugar at rest. I think everyone agrees, I would think, whatever you need to eat ratio of real food, nutrient-dense food, carbs, protein, and fat that keeps you burning fat at rest is essential. So if whatever that is for you, like I know, and I do genetic work, and I did DNA Fit, and I uploaded my genetic 23andMe raw data into all different programs. I analyzed it all, and I figured out a lot for my body. But exercise-wise or nutrition-wise, it said what I already felt, that I do better on a low-carb diet. But I have a client that can eat a ton of carbs and still did a metabolic efficiency test and still was burning really good fats in his bike and runs test. So I think what we're both saying is that the goal is to burn fat and increase your metabolic efficiency. So you are burning fat, but then even a lot of the research articles I find, even my friends that do more keto coaching, you can add more carbohydrates into your workouts and once you're metabolically flexible is a key word. So you can switch back to burning fat. But it's like I did really long training ride on the weekend, and I keep my heart rate low. So it's not like I'm anaerobic burning carbs. As you are in a race, you're going to probably need more carbohydrates because you're burning more carbs, higher percentage of carbohydrates, right? Than in a long, like max aerobic function math type of training. But what I found yesterday, I did, had a little carbs, stuffed coffee, and had a paleo muffin. And I put my nut butter F-bomb on top of it and added my macadamia nut butter. And it was like, I kept thinking, I felt amazing. The last hour of the bike ride, I kind of do a time trial because I know, horse to the barn, I know I'm almost done. So it's like, go. And I just felt amazing. And I think it's when you take out carbs is what a lot of the research is saying. And the FASTER study says, when you're doing a higher paced exercise or longer session, you can you're able to add a little more higher carbohydrates than other people and increase your performance. I find, but that's individual. Like yesterday I found like, oh my gosh, I'm on fire. It's like gasoline, lighter fluid to a fire that I was like, phew, energized. Maybe it was a cup of coffee, but I was feeling rocket fuel, but it was great. But I would say a lot of the research, and I'm interviewing Zach Bitter and I'm interviewing Peter Duffy in the next couple weeks. And a lot of the people I talk to, like Dr. Ken Berry, we're talking to, and other people that work on keto and carnivore, those people aren't endurance athletes. So I think you have to listen to the articles or podcasts and articles you read and apply them to, are you doing endurance sports? But then are you doing, you're not competing. Because I think I was reading something yesterday made sense. Like if you're competing and trying to race hard and win your age group, you're going to be burning a little more carbohydrates. So you might need to add more carbohydrates to your higher intensity training sessions than race day than someone that's just like, having a good time, just wants to cross the finish line. So go with that.
That's what I agree with. I believe in, scientific studies, of course, and the only studies that I've seen for endurance athletes for being true, like only using fat, were in ultra runners, which is basically an aerobic exercise. Like you're not, even a 100 mile, like Leadville 100.
Zach Bitter.
Yeah, like the runners who are doing that are still aerobic most of the time. They're going to push themselves like going up a hill or something, but they're not going to be at like an Ironman. Even an Ironman, a competitive Ironman triathlete is at 80 to 85% of their threshold for, the entire race. So you're burning more carbohydrates than you can put back in versus, like I said, a trail runner might be at more like 60%. So they can take more in. So long way of saying most of the science I've seen says you need to replace at least some carbohydrates to keep going. But if you're metabolically efficient, you should be able to do less, which would help
the GI stress.
Relieve a lot of the issues. The most common issues that stop people in an endurance sport aren't training and aren't not having enough calories. It's usually ingesting too much. Like I see overhydration, over caloric consumption, or GI issues, which lead to GI issues. Those are the big ones, or mentally not having the chops to deal with stuff if you have a bad day. But that's, like I said, a whole nother podcast probably.
Well, I think that's what I learned years ago when I started metabolic efficiency testing on people and not even thinking the nutrition part, but I used to train people based on their metabolic efficiency tests and figure out, we did MAF heart rate, so mafatones, weight minus age, and I apply that with what I found in their treadmill tests. And if we did on the bike with the metabolic efficiency cart that we used to have New Leaf. But then, years go on, and then I met Bob Seebehor, and he really, and I did his certification, metabolic efficiency specialist and technician or whatever it's called. And it's the same thing, like applying 75% of becoming metabolically efficient is through nutrition, and 25% is how you train. So I think a lot of people don't really focus at 75% to be metabolically efficient, which people don't know it by now. We always talk about this. So it's being able to burn higher percentage of fat as you exercise. So I looked at my past labs for years ago, and I was burning still a high percentage of fat at 150 heart rate. So it now it's probably a lot different. That's why you have to get tested every year, because those numbers probably change. Yeah. But you're able to burn more at higher intensity. And the metabolic flexibility, I think, is what we're trying to reach, is being able to have more carbs when you're doing a higher intensity workout or race, and you can switch back and avoid, like you said, GI stress and the inflammation and the speeding up the aging process by hammering our bodies. Yeah, no, and it helps recover. I mean, I would say it also helps recovery to get into that state and focus on. I've seen that's probably the other biggest thing I've seen in implementing nutritional therapy is if you use good nutrition to recover versus, that going and taking down a Coke and some of the other stuff, it makes you bounce back a lot quicker. Like being a guy in his 40s who's starting to take longer. Like in my 30s, I could basically just run the next day and I was fine. And now it takes a little bit more. And I've found nutrition is the key to actually. Yeah, recovery and repair, I think, is essential as we age up. And I always hate blaming the aging process or using that as an excuse, but it's more as you get older, we need to pay more attention to recovery and making sure we're supplementing as needed with the right nutrients to help us speed up recovery. And, I did a picture. I used Normatec last night, put my magnesium lotion on my legs, and I was sipping my bone broth, and it's like, here's your recovery. And, all this stuff that you can do. And I've been trying to CBD, non-drug related kind. I'm a CBD.
It's waterproofed.
Yeah. Well, there's a capsule I've been taking, Natural Stacks, they have Omega CBD and just trying to different things to help recovery. But what are your tricks for nutritionally supplement foods that help your recovery and repair?
Like I said, I think it's real food as quickly as possible afterward. And
like your favorites?
My favorites are, honestly, usually like if we go for a long bike ride or something, we know where the Whole Foods is on the way home, and we just go and nail the salad bar, and I throw extra like seeds and nuts and avocado, stuff like that on top. So you're getting the micros from the greens and that type of the veggies. And then you're getting the the healthy fat that helps rebuild your cells from the avocados, and of course adding some good protein like a chicken or steak or something on top of it. And I would say like a top favorite at our house is like salmon with really good vegetables the night after a race, and that usually or night after, and that seems to help a ton. I like probably going back to like normal triathlon product mentality. Like after every hard effort, I usually just do a quick protein shake with, it's a company out of Washington State called Mount Capra. It's a goat farm. So they make I found their protein powder digests a lot better. Like goat milk goes closer to human milk than cow milk and doesn't have the casein in it. And then they have one that has actual probiotics and all the essential electrolytes and B vitamins in it. So it's a great, like to me, that's one of the best quick replacements I can get.
That's good.
I think, and I would say getting some of those micros in, like you said, like bone broth, or I like even Shalane Flanagan, the runner, wrote her book called Eat Slow, Run, or Run Fast, Eat Slow. And she has a mineral broth that's a little bit different. It's lighter, so it's more vegetables. It's not as thick as a bone broth, but it has all those trace minerals. She pulls a lot of the really good, the vegetables that have the good vitamins and stuff in them. So you can sip cold a lot easier than bone broth is why I like it.
Good for the summertime.
Yeah, exactly. When you've done a hot workout, but I think it's more getting the electrolytes and the minerals back in your body than it is the macros even.
Yeah, especially in summertime, warm weather training. So last question, do you do fasted workouts? Are you into intermittent fasting, or what's your viewpoint on that?
Yeah. Like I said, I think, and this is Bob Sibogar, you mentioned with metabolic efficiency, is a good, someone I consider a good friend. We've raced together for years, and he lives like not too far from us. And I believe, similar to Bob, like you can train your body to be more metabolically efficient. So I'll do, especially when it's like aerobic efforts, like in the morning, I tell athletes, I coach by this, like you should be able to do the workout when you start in the morning. If it's an hour and a half or less, even if it has high intensity intervals, you should be able to do that on nothing. If you eat a good dinner the night before, other than water, like you shouldn't need a gel to go do a trainer ride on your bike. So I've followed that protocol since I started training.
Good.
Like I've never gotten up other than the long rides, like we'll have breakfast before those. So I would say we do
long rides. Then what do you have before long rides then? What kind of breakfast do you make and that you can eat? So I find I can't eat that much. So I kind of like the whole fasted thing in the workouts in the morning, or else I just like sitting in my stomach as I lean over on my bike. What's your favorite?
Usually for me, it's more like I can do, we'll eat like an hour because we drive 45 minutes to where we go to ride our bike. So I try and eat before, but I'll do like a couple of eggs with some spinach or something like that. Or like an English muffin with peanut butter on it. So you're getting the fats and stuff in there too. And a little bit of carbohydrates. So usually the gluten-free kind, but yeah.
That's good. All right. So any other comments, questions, things you want to throw out there, and then anything else?
No, I think that's good. Thank you for having me. And I hope that's good information to share with other people. Really, I think, like I said, in 20 years in racing triathlon and 10 years of coaching, really the one thing I've noticed is that if you don't take care of, if you only focus on training, you're missing probably 90% of what's going to make you a successful athlete. Like most of the athletes I work with, if there's issues, it comes from life stress and it comes from nutritional stress. So take care of those things before, like if you're stressed out at work, skip your training session. It's going to be better for you in the long run.
So I always like to ask three big tips. So your big tip would be to work on improving your stressors or eliminating them first before you start. And then
I'd say stressors is number one. Second is, you mentioned like focusing on some of the mobility kind of work. And I notice that more as I get older, that's important. And I think only, do what you enjoy too is my number one tip. Like you said, I see a lot of athletes just feel like, I have to sign up for another endurance event because I did this one. Like I did Ironman last year and I want to go, I think I can go 10 minutes faster. So I should sign up for another one or whatever it is. And sometimes it's good to take a break and go do strength training in the winter and run a little less or whatever. Like give yourself permission to do what gets you excited.
That is a perfect way to wrap up. I think that is another podcast topic as well, because I find since I stopped being able to race Ironman in 2013, I've been to Europe so many times and get the travel bug and explore and start doing other things. I think so many people get stuck racing. It's like, oh wait, there's a whole nother world out there I haven't even really explored. And you get sucked into racing the same for the next one. Because I did that for about 15 years. And when you're in trouble when people say they don't ask you to come visit unless there's a race going on. Oh, well, there's a marathon on. Will you come visit us then? So, all right. Where can we find more information, nutritional therapy? And if you want your coaching program you're involved in?
Definitely. It's just nutritionaltherapy.com is our website, and you can sign up to take a free 7-day course. And of course, if you want to sign up for one of the classes, make sure you mention Debbie's name because we like to take care of our alums who take care of us. So I'm giving the plug, not her.
All right. Thank you.
And for coach, like I said, I don't coach as much, but our coaching company is Sansego, Sansego, like no ego, based out of Australia. So you can look that up too if you want to.
We have lots of listeners from Australia area and the UK. I think they're more into health and nutrition than the Americans for some reason.
Yeah, we have NTA in Australia too. So that's it's a growing area for us, and love some of our most successful practitioners are in that area. And like I said, for coaching, happen to have met some great Australians who brought me under their wing to help learn the ins and outs of elite triathlon coaching. So we work with Craig Alexander, who's the 3-time Ironman world champion and had the world record until recently.
Yes, I know. And Crowy, I think they're amazing family too. He's just so nice every year, Ironman Hawaii. So if you guys are at Ironman Hawaii this year, I will be there. We're putting together, Matt, you will not be there. You can't try to make it.
No, we're going to be in France for the half Ironman World Championship.
Oh, yes.
That's the only trip that fits this year.
I know, I can't do France, then come back and then go Hawaii. But in October, I will be doing a meetup for people with hopefully Get Rich Sores there, and Simon Ward from the UK who's interviewing me on his podcast. And then we've got looking at the Prof, Paul Larson, and we'll get some Bike Works is hopefully going to host us there. And then Erin Carson from her gym, Rally Sport in Boulder. She trains a lot of pro athletes. So trying to get all these amazing people together and collaborate and help improve people's health.
Erin is amazing. She's the mobility work that she does is literally saved me from knee surgery. So
really, see, we know all these same people without knowing each other. She was on my Mark Allen Elite team, and I've known her since 2004. So cool. Go way back. And Dr. Stephen Black, who's in your area too, he's always helping me support our events. So hopefully everyone that's in Hawaii for Ironman Hawaii this year can come visit us on the Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m., wherever we might end up hosting it. So thank you.
Start plugging it now. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Have a good one. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.